Welcome to everyone. This is the chapter one. And from here on, we will be working on all the JavaScript concepts in this online IDE. This is called repel.it. So, where you can sign up and you can practice all your JavaScripts with the online from and can access from anywhere, and even you can share it to your friends, these repositories, whatever you practice on. And for now, for the starters, let's see, whatever the code you run in the index.js, and if you click on the run, only that part will be executed. And if you try to create new files over here, that will not be executed unless you import them into index.js. How we will do that, we will see it in future classes. For now, just stick to the index.js and practice your JavaScript code over here. And whatever the JavaScript that you try to run it, and if you try to include certain console.log, which is kind of a like printf statements in other languages, that will be displayed on the right side of the IDE. So, and thanks for everyone over here. And this is in this chapter one, we will be discussing about the variables. What is a variable? Variable is something which holds a certain value, and in JavaScript we can declare a variable using three different keywords. Those are let, var, and const. Okay, and why we have three means just like they have certain purpose. Let and var are something like when you declare a variable with let and var, the value can be changed. When you declare a certain variable with x and you assign a certain value to it, that value cannot be changed. And if these two values can be changed, then what is the difference? The difference is in terms of the scope, means like where you declare and where you try to access it. Is it possible or not depends on the type of the declaration of a certain variable. Like now, if you are familiar with other languages, when you are declaring a variable, most often the common thing you will be doing is by declaring it with its data type. For example, if you are pretty much familiar with Java or C kind of languages, in that you will be declaring the variable with a data type like int x or float b or string s or long d. These kind of data types are used to declare a certain variable. But in JavaScript, you don't need to do that. You can declare any kind of a data type variable using let and var and const. Okay, now let's see how we do that. Let x. So once we have, what we did is we just declared the variable. We have not assigned any value to it, we just declared it. Even you can assign a value to a certain variable while declaring itself by, let's say I'm assigning it with a value 5. Now let x equal to 5. Since let and var the value can be changed, now I can modify its value to some other value. That is good. So JavaScript, you can change the variable value if it is declared as a let and var. Now we have one more special concept in JavaScript, that value of a x, as you see it is right now, it is number. But in JavaScript we can change or we can assign a new value to x which is completely a different data type. That means now I can assign a string to a x value. Like for example, I can assign a string, or we can even assign a boolean value like a true. That means the data type of a x is not being restricted over here. Similarly, even if it's var also, I can assign with some new value. I can change its value to something new. I can assign and in JavaScript you can even use single quotes to declare a string. Like for example, single quotes in other languages considered as like char, but in JavaScript there is no char as a standard. We do utilize char in extract chars in some other way, but right now just stick to the concept like we only use string. So in y we can assign something town, and now even y can be a boolean also. Like for example, this time I'm going to declare false. Now, like in other languages where you would be using printf statements, system dot println statements, these kind of printing statements onto the console, in JavaScript we could use console dot log, and inside the console log, what are the variables or the string you give, that will be printed on the right side of your IDE. Let's say I'm trying to print y. What is the current y value? It's false, so it should be, when I click on the run over here, that should be printed on the right side. That's false. Let's try to print the console.log x. That's how we print the variables in JavaScript. Now let's play with const. I'm going to delete this to avoid the confusion. Const z is equal to, now I am assigning a new value to const z as something like 4, for example. Now I'm going to print this one, console.log of z. The 4 is printed. That's perfect. Now if I try to change the value to some new value, for example z with 2, 12, and if I try to do this, I will be getting an exception like saying that type error, assignment to a constant variable. So anything which is declared as a const, if you try to change its value, exception will be thrown. Okay, so avoid that. Only use const when you do know that you will not be changing the value of a particular variable down the line of the entire program execution. So that is the difference between let, var and const. But now let's find out the difference in between let and var. So if I declare something as let x equal to 5, and if I declare another y within the braces, for example within these two blocks, let y equal to 6, and now if I try to print the x value within these braces, outside of the braces it works, but if I try to print y outside of the braces, it will throw as an error as undefined. Why is undefined? Because in JavaScript what happens is the scope of the variable is restricted based on whether it is declared as a let or var. Let is said to have block scope. So that means if anything declared within a certain block, certain braces, that can be accessible only within the braces. If I try to declare something as var, it is said to have function scope, or you can simply in an easy manner you can say it has global scope. So if I try to declare the same y as var, it will work successfully. And as a hint, anything declared with backslash, 2 backslashes, that is like considered as a comment, so that won't be executed. And if you have multiple lines of comment, in such case just start with slash and star, end with closing star and backslash. So that way you have multi-line comments, and this is where you declare single line comments. Now if you try to declare anything as a var within the braces, still you can access it outside of the braces. That is the main concepts of the let, var and const. Thank you, and see you in the next tutorial.